Zoom zoom, motherfucker.
I've always wanted to know what it would be like to get Squad and just make it all World War II. I suppose you could just play Project Reality, but I'm going to be talking about Scriptum, which is a World War II tactical first-person shooter made by the same people who worked on the World War II mod for Project Reality, and we're going to do a World War II mod for Squad, but it ended up being its own game. But there's one thing I need you guys to help me with. I need you to comment why you like Hell Let Loose or why you like Scriptum, just because I want to get a comparison going to see why some people might like one game over the other. Also, while you're down there, just like the video. Anyways, moving on. But in Scriptum, you can play as a couple of different factions that include the English, the French, the Germans, the Americans, as well as other factions, but there are subdivisions of the factions. But you also can play as the New Zealanders on the Crete map, but each faction have their own unique equipment, such as mortars, canteens, binoculars, as well as a range of vehicles. I'll talk more about them later on because they are just my favorite part of the game, but the commanders also have unique abilities, and they function similar to Rising Storm 2, where you ask for a radio just to get ignored, but you can use a human radio or a radio attached to your vehicle. But the support options include fighter strafes, bombing runs, and artillery strikes. The cool thing about the artillery strikes is you can control how many shells it fires and the variation between each shot. The Stuka ability is just wild. The first time I heard it, I just stopped what I was doing and looked into the sky, and the fear these things must have given people back in World War II is just something else, because even in this game, it keeps me on edge every time I hear it. In terms of game modes, there are familiar ones such as Offensive, which is similar to Territories and Rising Storm 2. There's AAS, which thanks to Scriptum Wiki, I now know means Advanced and Secure. And there's RAAS, which is just a randomized version of AAS where the spawns are moved to different positions every game. But from the servers that I played on, Offensive was the most popular and probably my kind of favorite game mode because it keeps things localized. It didn't feel as big like Squad does, and I know some people probably don't like that, but I do like that. But how is the flow of gameplay? And it takes a much slower approach, and the game encourages it because you do get punished heavily for rushing around, and that is because you have limited stamina that can be replenished by drinking from your canteen. I doubt there's just water in here because they probably laced it with meth or something. But another thing is the suppression mechanic, and it's very intense, but I also like it because it discourages you from, if you're getting shot at, from standing up and trying to return fire because you're just so suppressed. It's very hard to actually see where you're aiming or even where the gunshots are coming from sometimes. And when you tie this in with having low stamina and you're shaking everywhere, this all adds to the game wanting you to take a slower approach to combat. But let's get Armor and Hell Let Loose. In terms of gameplay flow, it isn't slow and long and drawn out like Armor, but it isn't as fast paced as Hell Let Loose. And someone like me who has a short attention span, Rising Storm 2 has probably near perfect gameplay flow for someone like me. But Scriptum was a good balance, and it didn't feel like I was walking extensively just to die. I mean, I'd leave spawn and after 5 minutes I'd die to some guy hiding in a bush, but the walk to my death didn't feel as long. You do get friendly fire indicators, and despite having these, I still have the habit of checking my map and double checking that they are in fact the enemy. Like a German could run up to me wearing a big screaming obscenities in German, and I'd still probably need to double check on the map that they are in fact a bad guy. Now, one thing I love about this game is the sound. First thing I thought about it was that it reminds me of Beyond the Wire, which is just sad that the game is dead because it's genuinely a good game, but everything in Scriptum is so loud. Explosions and gunfire can be heard from miles away, and even the vehicles are ridiculously loud. You can hear tanks from a very far distance, so if you want to hide somewhere, I advise that you turn off your engine. Another cool thing about sound is that over distance, there's actually a delay between seeing the explosion and hearing the sound. But the sound design, it creates this sense of tension and fear, and even when a tank shell narrowly misses you, it just sounds so rattling and nerve-wracking.
Front of us, 2 of them.
Do I have a medic?
And this also includes tank ricochets. You can hear the sounds of debris landing after an explosion. And I just love walking through a little Belgian village and hearing gunshots in the distance and explosions and the occasional stuka. But speaking of weapons, you have a healthy variety that range from automatic to bolt actions. You have various explosives such as mortars and even anti-tank rifles, and these kill with pretty much one shot. I don't remember a time where I needed to bandage myself because I'd more or less be dead, but I also don't remember needing to take a follow-up shot on someone unless I missed. But some of my favorite guns include the Maz 36 and Gewehr. Seriously, like, why is it spelt with a W? I know in German, W is pronounced as a V, but if we're gonna spell it out for English, why don't we just replace the W with a V? Sorry, this was actually my first time pronouncing it correctly on the channel, but that's just something that I think of every time I see that word. But moving on, in terms of weapon animation, they are nice. Even the weapon firing ones are good. I especially like the one with the Luger. The reload animation is just suave, and there are gases that leave the ends of the barrels of weapons. But now I want to talk about the vehicles, and my god, it's just mwah. For starters, you have an area where you can spawn in all the vehicles and inspect the armor models and module location, and goddamn, I didn't realize just how big certain tanks are when they are in front of you. They have all the greats that include the Easy 8, Tigers, Firefly, and this one that looks like a duck, and they all look beautiful with the camos and external modules. There are different tank shells such as APHE, HE, Heat, AP, and Willy Pete, as well as a couple more, and these shells are affected by gravity, air drag, and this is determined by the tank shell as well as its weight. If a shell hits something without penetration, the fragments will bounce back and hit anyone in front of it or behind of it. I don't know the proper word to describe it, but if the shell penetrates, it creates spalling, and this is also affected by the angle and shell type. Even external armor such as tracks, logs, and the side shields that are seen on the Panzer IV-H affect the penetration capabilities of the shells. If you destroy 3 modules, the tank is destroyed, and if a tank module is destroyed, such as tracks, you need to get out and repair it, making you vulnerable to enemy gunfire. But if a tank is destroyed, you can hear these sounds of explosions and gunfire, and the thing is, I thought the gunfire was coming from someone else in this empty server, and I got scared for a second until I realized that it's just the ammunition inside the tank exploding. But the movement of tanks is also affected based on terrain such as snow and mud. But staying on the topic of tanks, the tank combat is very fun. Because I was new, I was just listening to what the more experienced people were telling me to do. We're just sitting on the side of the road, we're just awaiting orders, trying to look into the distance to see if there are any enemies, and basically just waiting for the go-ahead to advance to a new position. And when I tried to get to a certain couple of positions, I did flip the tank.
Too far. Ah, shit.
And getting shot at is very nerve-wracking, and even just like firing at other tanks, like I'm trying to be motivational to my gunner, like he lands a good hit, I'm just like, yeah, good hit mate, well done. Tank, dead ahead.
Ooh, I see it.
Holy shit, nice. But all in all, the tanks are my favorite aspect of the game simply because of the range of tanks and how in-depth they are gone into. And let's have a look at maps, and they have been made via aerial photography, and I've seen some people actually say that they've seen in-game locations in real life. There are some debris scattered throughout the map, as well as some window locations you can camp in. Yet again, I usually find myself looking for the nearest bush to camp in and ambush my opponents. But I also like in the map loading screen, it actually shows you where the battle is taking place. I suppose it's good because I learned something. But look, I've just been having a lot of fun playing Scriptum lately, and it's just clicked better than Hell Let Loose, which I'm still trying so hard to get into. I just need to get into the right mindset. But all in all, if you want to get this game on sale, then I honestly do recommend it. But if you don't have Hell Let Loose and are deciding between the two games, then I mean, for longevity, I mean, Hell Let Loose is probably the better option simply because there are just way more people that play it. But if you like World War II, not the war itself, that was horrible. horrifying, but if you like the game and the movies and all that type of stuff, then it couldn't hurt to get the game, especially when it's on sale, but just be wary of the dwindling player numbers. I also want you to check out the playlist on screen because I know it will interest you. And if you watch this far into the video, I want you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Please, it really helps me out. Anyways, my name is Tantu, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.